Hello everyone, Monica here with a tarot deck review, and in this video I'm looking at the Belle Époque Tarot. This is a recent Kickstarter publication that I backed, and I only received it I think last week, and it is a deck created by Orlin Hristov. It's obviously based on the Belle Époque period in between World War I and the Second World War. And I really wanted to do a review of this tarot deck because I think it's incredible and I think it is stunning. And I wanted to share, I guess, my impressions of it. I haven't worked with it for long enough for this to be, I guess, a thorough review, but I have enough experience in tarot and with decks in general to feel fairly confident in my assessment of this deck. So first things first, the deck comes in a very solid box and it has a slide out mechanism. My only issue with this is that it's not magnetic in any way, so there's no way to actually catch this from opening. So if you sit it upright on a bookshelf and you pick it up, you will just pick up the cover, not the actual whole box. I mean, that's minor, but it's just something that I have observed. So yes, you slide it out, very nice. And inside there is a great little guidebook. And then the cards themselves. And these are the card backs. So let's have a look very briefly at the card backs before I go into my impressions of the deck. I really like them personally. I like something different, yeah, I just really appreciate the stylistic direction of this deck. So how this review or this walkthrough of this deck is structured is that the first part I'm looking at some of the cards that I really appreciate, and I think that they are brilliantly done and beautiful in this deck. And I also look at some cards that I'm not too sure about. I try to be objective, but it is hard. It's impossible actually to be objective because I really like this deck. So, I favor it in a sense. But even with that said, there are some cards that I think I'm just not sure about how they've been, depicted. And I'll also have a talk about the guidebook. And in the second half of the video, I will do a full flip through of this 80 card deck. So it is 80 cards. It contains an extra 2 cards, and you'll see those as I go through this video. So first up, some of the cards that I really find absolutely beautiful and stunning, and they are in no particular order. Let's have a look what I've got. So first up, there is Queen of Pentacles. I personally love the color choice. I love the design of the deck. I think it is really beautifully done. And with great sensitivity towards blending in different elements and color choices and everything about it, even down to the font. I absolutely love the font. And I would love to know more about things like that, like, how was this font chosen, for example? Was there research into, the fonts at the time, or anything about that? The guidebook doesn't seem to delve into it too much. But anyway, yeah, I really love this Queen of Pentacles. The 10 of Pentacles. Gosh, I think it's, yeah, just really nicely done. What else have I got? The 6 of Pentacles. Very simple and yet very well executed, design-wise at the very least. Princess of Swords. This one's fantastic. I mean, you can tell from some of these images from that time period that the opportunity to travel and to learn and to open one's horizons to the world were there. at least for those that had the financial means to do so, because a lot of people didn't, of course. But I think that this encapsulates that freedom experience, in particular by younger women as well, and I really appreciate that. The Nine of Swords. Now the Nine of Swords is a darker card in tarot in general, but I like the way that it's depicted. Even cards that are dark or have negativity around them can be presented in an appealing way. I hope that makes sense. The Six of Cups, and I think that this echoes that idea of deep connection with a soulmate, or someone that understands you and gets you, someone that is right on your wavelength. I really love the way that these two embrace in a dance. You can really pick that energy up from them. The Hanged Woman. So what you will notice with all of the majors is that you have Kabbalah elements, and also the element symbol on each card. That's throughout all the major arcana. And I love this hangman or hangwoman in this deck because it speaks to that moment of being suspended, but also that it is in a way a movement card with this deck, in that very soon the querent who draws this card will be plunged into depths unknown and perhaps uncomfortable and perhaps disorienting, right? But this snapshot is that time period just before that happens, right? I really, really like that. The Two of Cups, really beautiful. I love, the color choice and the way that it's drawn. I love the butterfly in the background. And what you will see as well is that the deck contains astrological symbols. So there's Venus there and there's Cancer there. Again, with the major arcana, you have the astrological symbol or the element symbol, and then the Kabbalah. And I really like this tower. I can't explain why I like it, to be honest. I think I need to sit with it a lot longer, but there's something I really love about it. The fact that it's a man-made structure crumbling and collapsing, and there's I love the color choice, the red and the yellow and the fire, and yeah, everything about it speaks of complete and utter destruction and the burning away of something that you thought was solid, but turns out not much in life is permanent. So that's the tower. The star, oh, absolutely stunning. And the Ace of Wands as well. Really, really love this Ace of Wands. I love this snake. That you're sort of hit with this punch of creative power and transformation with this Ace of Wands, right? It's surging through, it's coming forth, it's bursting. And I love the fact that she is naked. To me, it symbolizes, the purity in the creative process that's coming forth. It's not clothed in anything pretentious, or it's not pretending to be anything other than what it is. I don't know, I really, really love this Ace of Wands personally. So these are some of the cards that I really love. And then there are some cards that I guess it's not a criticism on the deck creator, but I'm coming here from a Rider-Waite-Smith background, and sometimes I think that some of the interpretations visually, they're just a bit different. So first up is the Eight of Cups. I'm getting a lot of heaviness and negativity around this card and being burdened, and I'm wondering whether this is because this deck is influenced by the Thoth tradition. as opposed to the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition. It could be that. And I'm not that familiar with Thoth. I know a little bit about it, but I work primarily with Rider-Waite-Smith. And I get the feeling that some of these are challenging to me because of the tradition that they were created under. But I'm not 100% sure because I can't tell from the guidebook which tradition this deck followed. Maybe I need to read a bit, read the guidebook a bit more thoroughly. The Seven of Pentacles is another one that you know, to me this is like suspense. Could almost be like a Seven of Swords card, you know, someone sneakily sliding off and running away. But it could be that pause that the Seven of Pentacles talks about, you know, like the break, the pause, the stillness. There's a lot of stillness in the Seven of Pentacles, and there's resting. But, you know, if you were to rest, you wouldn't really choose this sort of pose because this pose requires a lot of effort still to hold. The Ten of Cups, I think this is quite a different mood to the Ten of Cups that we know in the Rider-Waite-Smith. You know, it's bright, it's got a rainbow, it's got a family. And sure, this is a couple here, but they feel to me like they could almost be coming from a funeral. You know, there's a heaviness in this card, at least in my opinion. There's the Ten of Cups. The Moon, I'm not too sure about this moon, I have to say. I like this. I like the fact that on half of it is like a city or a citadel or something, but it's not. Yeah, I've got to sit with it a bit longer. I'm not entirely sure about it. The Alchemy or the Temperance card as well. My experience with Temperance cards in general is that they embody an energy of healing and magic within it. And again, I feel like this has a bit of a fair heavier energy to it. And I think it's the color choice predominantly, perhaps. Four of Cups. I like this Four of Cups. I struggle to interpret it alongside its Rider-Waite-Smith meaning, but I really like it. So I'll work with it a bit more. And then the Four of Wands. Yeah, I once again, similar to that Ten of Cups. When you think of the Four of Wands in the Rider-Waite-Smith, you think of celebration and happy vibes. And sure, to me, these people are at a party, judging by her dress. But I think these guys around her just give the card a bit of a serious tone. And it's a bit incongruent with that celebration and happiness that she's embodying, and that a party scene really embodies. But I do acknowledge that back in that period, in the Belle Époque, you know, wearing suits, like people dressed up a lot more. And as someone who appreciates a nice dress, I value that so much. I detest even our culture of leggings and spandex and plastic and tackiness and lack of taste so much. It is jarring to the eye. So I'm not, like, in a sense I appreciate this card. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's, when I think of its counterpart in the Rider-Waite-Smith, I find that it's a bit more not as joyful perhaps. But anyway, so I just wanted to showcase some cards first up, and before I go through to the flip through, I also have to mention the card stock. Now, the cards are gilded, and that is wonderful. I'm not personally a huge fan of gilding though. I am a huge fan of cardstock that works when shuffling and when working with tarot in practice. And I find that a lot of deck creators overlook that aspect of it in search of shiny bling. I think that the gilding is nicely done in this deck. However, the cardstock, which is mentioned actually on the back of the box, the cardstock is quality German black core paper. Fantastic. I like that it is a quality cardstock, but I personally find it quite thin, overly so. So these cards, like this, it takes nothing to bend them. You see that? And I should mention that there are two options for this deck that you could have backed on Kickstarter. And I will have a look at that and confirm in the description box below which one I received, because I can't remember at the top of my head. But regardless of that, the one that I have, at least, I think that this is way too thin for a working deck. For a collector, if you're not going to work with it and shuffle it regularly, then this might not be an issue. But most of us here in the tarot world will work with decks, whether it's for personal use or for clients. And yeah, I really think that these, like, it worries me, long term, how well these will stand up to regular shuffling. But time will tell. Time will tell. The other thing I wanted to say is that I really appreciate this deck for including astrological symbols and the Kabbalah in its cards. Okay, so in the minor arcana here you've got the moon and Cancer for the Four of Cups. And the reason I appreciate it is that it's done in a way that doesn't detract from the overall image. So it's helping you to know which ones they are, but they're not, heavy or dominant on the card. And I think that is a really nice skill for a designer to incorporate these sort of symbols without them ending up just, detracting from the overall image of the card. So here in the Strength card, you've got Leo, the astrological symbol, and the Kabbalah symbol. I'm not familiar with the Kabbalah, so I can't tell you what they are. But anyway, yeah, so the last point I need to make is on the booklet itself. So, and here, personally, this is just me. I don't know about other readers out there. I am fascinated by the people who create these types of tarot decks. By these types of tarot decks, I mean decks that are really well created. You can tell a lot of thought went into this deck. And in fact, in the introduction, the creator notes that this was a collaboration between the author and 6 other occultists. I don't know if you can see that. And the result of the research was 5,800 carefully picked illustrations, with a choice of which a choice of 78 took a year and a half to to create. So they've clearly sifted through so much material, so this is the type of deck where the creator is very involved, presents the deck in a beautiful way. I think it's stunning, the deck. My only critique of it, aside from the cardstock, is that the booklet doesn't reference the images. And in fact, for the minor arcana, it's like it describes the image and gives you some keywords. But I feel like it could have been so much more, because I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated to know, where do these images come from? A magazine or a work of art, or there was so much going on at the time, advertisements, the print media and things like that. I think it would have been wonderful to have that included, because the book is nicely done. You can see it's got all the color images. But I feel like, yeah, there's a bit of a lost opportunity with all the space. It would have been lovely to have a description of where each of these images comes from. With the major arcana, some of them, they do have that. Like for the Emperor, it's the Prince of Monaco in 1928. And a lot of the major arcana do mention where the images come from. Like this is the Fool, it's Nikola Tesla. But yeah, I just think it would have been lovely to get a bit more for each image as to where the, you know, where's the source and how was it picked in relation to the traditional system, be that Rider-Waite-Smith or Thoth. You know, like how do you look at your original system, or maybe it's Marseille, you know, whatever it is. How do you go from that to choosing that particular image? I'm absolutely fascinated by people who do this, and also the creator or the other creators that were involved in this. It would have been really nice to get a bit more about them too. So anyway, that's probably my main critique of the deck, is around the cardstock, and you know, the book could have contained a lot more information. But that aside, I really want to make it clear that I adore this deck, perhaps because I really am into historical decks, and I really like that a particular time period as well, a time period of huge change in between two devastating world wars, and there was a time period of fun as well, and enjoyment, and you know, living life. So anyway, I will go through all of the 78 cards one by one and the flip through next.